What if everything you've been taught about positive thinking is wrong? What if the secret to unshakable happiness isn't thinking positive thoughts, but deliberately imagining the worst-case scenario? Today, I'm revealing a 2,000-year-old practice that billionaires, Navy SEALs, and world-class athletes use to build mental toughness. It's called Premeditatio, Malorum, and it's about to change how you think about fear forever. Before I show you how to turn your worst fears into your greatest strengths, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Why? Because what I'm about to teach you goes against everything modern self-help tells you, but it's backed by both ancient wisdom and cutting-edge psychology. This is episode 3 of Be Stoic Every Day. And if you want to build real mental resilience, you can't miss this. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Daily Stoic Insights. I'm your host, and today we're talking about something that might make you uncomfortable. We're talking about deliberately thinking about bad things happening to you. Now, before you click away thinking this is some depressing doom and gloom content, hear me out. The Stoics discovered something that modern psychology has confirmed. The people who are most prepared for adversity are the ones who think about it in advance. Not obsessively, not anxiously, but strategically. They called this practice Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, spent time every morning imagining losing his wealth, his position, even his life. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, regularly practiced living like a poor person. Were they pessimists? Absolutely not. They were the most resilient, successful, and ultimately happy people of their time. And here's the kicker. Modern neuroscience has proven they were right. When you mentally rehearse handling difficulties, your brain builds neural pathways that make you actually more capable of handling those difficulties when they arise. Today, I'm going to teach you 3 specific techniques that will transform your relationship with fear and uncertainty. First, the basic practice of negative visualization. Second, the advanced technique of voluntary discomfort. And third, a daily exercise that will make you mentally bulletproof. Plus, I've got a 30-day challenge that will test everything you learn today. So stick around. Let's start with why positive thinking alone doesn't work. When you tell yourself everything will be fine without preparing for difficulties, you're setting yourself up for 2 problems. First, when things go wrong, and they will, you're caught completely off guard. Second, you spend mental energy worrying about things that might never happen. Negative visualization solves both problems. When you deliberately imagine difficulties and mentally rehearse handling them well, 2 things happen. You become prepared for real challenges, and you stop worrying about imaginary ones. Technique number 1, basic negative visualization. Here's how to do it properly. Every morning, spend 5 minutes imagining one thing going wrong today. Not everything going wrong, that's anxiety. One specific thing. Maybe your presentation doesn't go well. Maybe you get stuck in traffic. Maybe someone criticizes your work. Then, and this is crucial, imagine yourself handling it like a Stoic. See yourself staying calm. See yourself learning from the experience. See yourself using it as an opportunity to practice virtue. Let me give you a real example. Last month, I was preparing for an important business meeting. Instead of just hoping it would go well, I spent 5 minutes imagining it going terribly. I visualized the client rejecting my proposal, asking difficult questions I couldn't answer, even being rude or dismissive. Then I imagined my Stoic response, staying professional, asking thoughtful questions, learning from their feedback, and using the experience to improve my next presentation. Guess what happened? The meeting went great. But more importantly, I went in completely relaxed because I had already mentally handled the worst-case scenario. Technique number 2, loss visualization. This one is more advanced, but incredibly powerful. Once a week, spend 10 minutes imagining losing something important to you. Your job, your health, a relationship, your home. Not to torture yourself, but to appreciate what you have and prepare mentally for life's inevitable changes. Seneca used to say, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." When you've mentally prepared for loss, it can't devastate you. I practice this with my relationships. Sometimes I imagine what life would be like if I lost someone important to me. Not in a morbid way, but as a reminder to appreciate them now, to not take them for granted, and to be prepared for the reality that nothing lasts forever. This practice has made me a better friend, a better partner, and a more grateful person. When you truly understand that everything is temporary, you stop wasting time on petty arguments and start focusing on what really matters. Technique number 3, voluntary discomfort. This is where we take negative visualization from mental exercise to physical practice. The Stoics didn't just imagine hardship, they voluntarily experienced it. Seneca would sleep on the floor, eat simple food, and wear basic clothes. Not as punishment, but as training. Modern applications: take cold showers, skip a meal occasionally, walk instead of driving, sleep without your phone, wear less comfortable clothes. The goal isn't to suffer. It's to prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. When you voluntarily experience minor discomforts, major discomforts become manageable. When you've chosen to be cold, being cold by accident doesn't bother you. When you've chosen to be hungry, missing a meal isn't a crisis. The neuroscience behind it. Here's why this works. Your brain has something called the negativity bias. It's wired to focus on potential threats. When you don't address this bias, it runs in the background, creating constant low-level anxiety. When you deliberately engage with it through negative visualization, you satisfy this bias and actually reduce overall anxiety. Studies show that people who practice negative visualization are more optimistic, more grateful, and more resilient than people who only practice positive thinking. Why? Because they're prepared for reality instead of hoping for fantasy. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds depressing. Won't focusing on negative things make me negative? That's exactly what I thought before I tried it. But I'm about to share the surprising truth about what actually happens when you practice this consistently, plus a simple daily routine that makes this effortless. And yes, that 30-day challenge is coming up. Here's what actually happens when you practice negative visualization consistently. Week 1. Reduced anxiety. You'll notice you worry less about things that might happen because you've already mentally handled them. Your brain stops running worst-case scenarios in the background because you've deliberately addressed them. Week 2. Increased gratitude. When you regularly imagine losing what you have, you appreciate it more. Your morning coffee tastes better. Your relationships feel more precious. Your health feels like the gift it is. Week 3. Improved performance. Because you've mentally rehearsed handling difficulties, you perform better under pressure. You're not afraid of failure because you've already imagined it and survived it. Week 4. Unshakable confidence. You develop what I call prepared confidence, the deep knowing that whatever happens, you can handle it. Not because nothing bad will happen, but because you're ready for anything that does. The daily practice. Here's how to integrate this into your routine. Morning, 5 minutes. Choose one potential challenge for today. Visualize it happening and yourself responding with wisdom and grace. Evening, 5 minutes. Reflect on one thing you're grateful for that you might lose someday. Appreciate it fully. Weekly, 10 minutes. Practice one form of voluntary discomfort. Cold shower, simple meal, uncomfortable chair, whatever challenges you slightly. Monthly, 20 minutes. Do a deeper loss visualization. Imagine losing something significant and finding meaning in that loss. Real success stories. Let me tell you about Marcus, a subscriber who was terrified of public speaking. He started practicing negative visualization, imagining his presentations going wrong in every possible way, then imagining himself handling each scenario with grace. 6 months later, he gave a TED Talk. Why? Because he had mentally rehearsed every possible failure and knew he could handle anything. Or Sarah, who was constantly anxious about her job security. She started imagining losing her job and visualizing herself finding new opportunities, learning new skills, maybe even starting her own business. When she actually got laid off 2 years later, she wasn't devastated. She was excited. She had already mentally prepared for this transition. Before I give you that 30-day challenge, let me address the biggest objection people have to this practice. They say, "Won't this attract negative things into my life?" I'm going to give you the scientific answer to this question, plus share the one mistake that turns helpful negative visualization into harmful rumination. Let's address the elephant in the room. Doesn't thinking about bad things attract them? This comes from a misunderstanding of both Stoicism and psychology. First, negative visualization isn't about believing bad things will happen. It's about being prepared if they do. There's a huge difference between I expect this to go wrong and I'm prepared if this goes wrong. Second, research shows that people who practice negative visualization are actually more optimistic than those who don't. Why? Because they're not afraid of the future. They're prepared for it. The key is in how you do it. Helpful negative visualization has 3 characteristics. It's time limited, 5 to 10 minutes, not all day. It's solution focused. You imagine handling challenges well, not just experiencing them. It's voluntary. You choose when and what to visualize, rather than anxious thoughts choosing for you. Harmful rumination, on the other hand, is endless, focuses on problems without solutions, and feels involuntary. The one mistake to avoid. The biggest mistake people make is visualizing problems without visualizing solutions. If you imagine your business failing but don't imagine yourself starting a new one, that's just worry. If you imagine getting sick but don't imagine yourself adapting and finding meaning in the experience, that's just fear. Always follow the visualization of difficulty with the visualization of your wise response to that difficulty. Here's the paradox that the Stoics understood. The more you prepare for things to go wrong, the more likely things are to go right. Not because of some mystical law of attraction, but because preparation breeds confidence, and confidence breeds success. When you're not afraid of failure, you take better risks. When you're not afraid of criticism, you share better ideas. When you're not afraid of loss, you appreciate what you have more fully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." But he also wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." He understood that being present doesn't mean being unprepared. The goal of negative visualization isn't to become pessimistic. It's to become anti-fragile, not just resilient in the face of difficulty, but actually strengthened by it. Here's your 30-day challenge. Every morning for the next 30 days, spend exactly 5 minutes doing negative visualization. Choose one potential challenge for that day. Imagine it happening. Then imagine yourself responding like a Stoic sage. Keep a simple journal with 3 entries each day. What did you visualize? How did you imagine responding? What actually happened? Did the thing you visualized happen? How did you actually respond? At the end of 30 days, you'll have data on how this practice affects your anxiety, your performance, and your overall well-being. But here's the real challenge. On day 31, try going back to your old way of thinking, just hoping for the best without preparing for difficulties. I guarantee you'll feel more anxious and less confident. That's when you'll know this practice has changed you. If you're ready to transform your relationship with fear and uncertainty, smash that like button. You're not just supporting the channel, you're committing to mental toughness. You're saying, I refuse to be caught off guard by life. Comment below with I accept the 30-day negative visualization challenge, and tell me what you're most afraid of that you want to mentally prepare for. When you name your fears publicly, they lose their power over you. Share this video with someone who's always worried about the future. Give them the gift of preparation instead of anxiety. Show them that the path to fearlessness isn't avoiding thoughts of difficulty, it's mastering them. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because next week we're covering the art of letting go, how to release attachment to outcomes while still caring about results. It's the key to high performance without stress. Remember, you are stronger than you think, more resilient than you know, and more prepared than you realize. The future doesn't scare you when you've already conquered it in your mind. Until next time, stay stoic, stay prepared, and keep growing.